Oh, happy Friday! August the 18th, it's Luke 6:35 and 36. But love your enemies and do what is good. And lend, expecting nothing in return. Then your reward will be great, and you'll be children of the Most High. For he is gracious to the ungrateful and evil. Be merciful, just as your Father also is merciful. Jesus lived perfectly God's instruction. He lived it out. He tells us, I do what I've seen my Father do. I say what I've heard my Father say. See, Jesus is the perfect Son of God. Okay, so I said yesterday that Jesus lived the life. He showed it to us. We're kids by adoption. God adopted us into his family. And therefore, it is our desire, our, let's say, goal. We are to strive to live the life that God has provided for us to live. It's a life that pleases him. It's a life that brings him glory. You see, Jesus is the embodiment of human life. He was the perfect human. And so it's not an excuse to say I'm only human. We can say we're not perfect humans. God has shown us grace. God has shown us merciful. He says in this that he is merciful to the evil. Man. So see, we're supposed to live out God's desire for our lives. But we're limited. But that's honestly no excuse. You see, I preached all morning on what it means to set our minds toward righteousness. To pray first thing in the morning is, God, help me to want what you want. But we're limited, but that's no excuse. It ought to be our desire to bring honor to our family. I remember when my dad told me, he said, you're my son. See, I have the name Robert Earl Owings Jr. That means not only do I bear certain characteristics of my dad, but I got his name. Well, what about in Christ? I am a Christian. I follow Jesus. And that identity should be obvious to people who see us and know us. God is gracious to the undeserving. We should be gracious to the undeserving. You see? Be merciful, just like your Father is merciful. Now, there's a question. Are we merciful? I'm not always. But truth is, I'm really hard on myself too. I'm hard on myself with regard to guidelines and expectations and punctuality and integrity and all those kind of things. I think we're supposed to be. I think we're supposed to examine ourselves. But do the people we meet experience God's mercy through us? I think that's what Jesus is encouraging us to. Luke 6:35 and 36, but love your enemies. Do what is good and lend, expecting nothing in return. Then your reward will be great, and you'll be the children. You will be children of the Most High. For he is gracious to the ungrateful and evil. Look at that. That's the one we're talking about today. He was gracious to me when I was ungrateful. He was gracious to me when I was evil. So be merciful just as your Father also is merciful. See you next week.